Okay, it's Wednesday, and I think it's time for a little bit of Reddit bookkeeping drama. So, I have been recently perusing the r slash bookkeeping and r slash accounting subreddits, and some of the stories on here are just so crazy. So, I'm going to read some and I guess react to them. These are the first time I am reading these stories. Sometimes I get emails in my inbox from Reddit, and the titles, I've just been saving them in a folder that sound really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first story, which is from r slash bookkeeping, and the title is Client Thinks I'm the Most Expensive Bookkeeper They've Ever Worked With. And it goes like this. First off, wishing you all the best this tax season. Second off, I'm just looking for a little insight on if I'm charging too much for my services, specifically for this client. She's an SP realtor, has 3 business bank accounts with mixed personal and business, although not the worst I've seen in this regard. And I'm not even sure how much this matters with SPs. There's 45 to 50 transactions a month. Gross revenue is $150,000 plus. She does have an accountant. He's the one who recommended me to her. I charge her $30 an hour, which came out to a total of between $1,200 and $1,300. It's late. I'm too lazy to calculate the exact amount for everything. This also included a couple hours categorizing some of her personal expenses. This year, I wanted to put her on a $200 a month retainer. The 50 to 60% increase being due to my recent certification. Took a while to get certified as I just didn't have the money for a course. Not billing for all of the extra hours I spent on her books. Imposter syndrome, anyone? I'm working on it and having some trouble with her as a client. She said to me, "You're the most expensive bookkeeper I've ever worked with." Here I come to find out that her previous bookkeeper of nearly a decade had been charging her a flat rate fee of $600 a month. Am I insanely overcharging my client? Okay, let's go ahead and read some of these comments. The first one was just a day ago, and it says, I just sent an $18,000 quote for an annual cleanup for a client, and I charge $100 an hour. Your $200 is less than half the average bookkeeping minimum of $500 per month. Cheap clients can always find cheaper. Just charge what you want, and the clients who value you will gladly pay your fees. Okay, if you are adjusting your rates because you recently became certified, that is completely justified. And if she's only looking to charge a flat rate of $200 a month, that is also extremely affordable. That is on the much lower end for a lot of freelance bookkeepers. And she's also charging about $10 less than the minimum freelance bookkeeper hourly rate, which is anywhere between $40 and $75 an hour on average within the United States. So I don't think she's overcharging or being expensive with this client at all. Let's go ahead and read another comment. This one says, $200 a month for a realtor with 3 bank accounts and mixed personal transactions is genuinely below market rate. And I absolutely agree. Most bookkeepers would charge more for that scope, especially once you factor in the personal expense separation work. The comparison to $600 per year from a decade ago is completely meaningless. That bookkeeper was either undercharging, doing less work, or both. And the fact that her accountant referred you tells you something. He probably saw what the previous person's work looked like. One thing I'd push back on though, don't frame the increase around your certifications. Clients don't care about your credentials, they care about what you do for them. Frame it as the scope of work requires X, rather than I got certified so I charge more. You'll get less pushback that way. This comment is completely right. And it is also from a top 1% commenter, so it seems like a lot of people agree. Clients do not care if you're certified. They really don't care if you have a degree or what your credentials are. All they really care about is what you're doing for them. And if you're going to be able to do it with the least hassle possible. I've been a bookkeeper for many years, and I've never once had a client ask me about my degrees or certifications. So the OP here responds to this comment saying, "Thank you so much for your detailed response. I didn't even think about the fact that the accountant recommending me could have had something to do with the previous bookkeeper. But looking back on my conversations with the client, that would make so much sense. She was asking me where expense accounts were for specific bills, like expecting those bills to have their own account, and then thought others should be consolidated into one big generic account. So yeah, I appreciate your comment." Oftentimes, if you're getting a referral from an accountant that's been working with a client for a long time, that means that they've either had no bookkeeping done and it's making the accountant's job extremely hard, or the client was working with a previous bookkeeper that just wasn't doing a good job and the accountant recommended you, somebody who could do a much better job, which in turn makes the accountant's work so much smoother. Let me know what you think about this post in the comments below. Do you think this bookkeeper is charging too much? A $200 flat rate monthly retainer is definitely on the low end, along with a certified bookkeeper only charging $30 an hour. Girl, you need to up your rates. Okay, here's our next story. It's on the same r/bookkeeping subreddit, and the title is 6 months into bookkeeping job and I still feel lost. How do I actually understand what I'm doing? Hi everyone, I've been working at a bookkeeping firm for about 6 months now, and I'm struggling with something I didn't expect. On paper, I'm doing fine. I manage around 15 clients, meet deadlines, run payroll, make journal entries, reconcile accounts, move things around when needed, etc. The issue is, I feel like I don't actually understand what I'm doing at a deeper level. I know the hands-on technical steps, I can follow the process, but sometimes it feels like I'm just clicking buttons and making entries without fully grasping the bigger picture. Like why we're doing certain adjustments, how everything ties together strategically, or how it impacts tax planning and financial decisions long term. When I ask for help at work, it's usually more of someone showing me how to do something step by step, rather than explaining the reasoning behind it. I don't blame them, everyone's busy, but I really want to understand the why, not just the mechanics. For context, I have an associate's degree in accounting. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in accounting. My classes helped with the basics, debits, credits, financial statements, etc., but I want a stronger conceptual and practical understanding beyond just completing tasks. For those of you who've been working in accounting or bookkeeping longer, is this normal at 6 months? What helped you move from doing tasks to truly understanding the work? And are there specific courses, certifications, or resources you'd recommend? I've considered things like the QuickBooks Pro Advisor, bookkeeping certifications, maybe even tax-focused learning. I really want to become stronger in this field and not just be someone who knows how to do tasks and process transactions. I want to understand the why behind everything. Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks. And it looks like there's an edit. Thank you for all the incredible advice and perspective. A lot of your comments helped me realize this is a normal stage and that understanding comes with time and intentional learning. I feel much more grounded after reading through everything. I truly appreciate it. Okay, he or she has only been in this role for 6 months, so I definitely think the understanding is going to come more in time. I'm a hands-on learner, and I think my first 6 months of becoming a bookkeeper, as I was going through school, was really just getting that foundational understanding. But let's go ahead and scroll down and look at some of these comments. So here's a commenter that is in the top 1%. 6 months is still early. It took me about a year before things actually clicked. The turning point was doing a full month-end close without anyone checking my work. Not that I got everything right, but that's when I started understanding the why behind entries rather than just following a to-do list. Pick one thing that confuses you most. Bank reconciliations, journal entries, accruals, whatever. And go deep on just that until it clicks. Trying to understand everything at once is where the lost feeling comes from. Once you genuinely get one piece, the rest starts to make more sense because it's all connected. Okay, that is actually really good advice. I think the first 6 months of anybody starting any kind of new job, it's just like an information overload. You have so many new things being thrown at you, and you have to keep showing up every day, most of the time 5 days a week, and you're just going through the motions. You're just trying to get your work done. And in that first 6 months, there is a grace. I hope your boss and your coworkers are giving you grace as you're so new to this profession. But yeah, 6 months is so early. It's going to take some time. And if you're already so proactive about learning, you already have an associate's degree, you're continuing on to get a bachelor's in accounting, the more your knowledge grows, the more your understanding is going to grow. And those reasons for why you do certain things are just going to start clicking in time. Now there's another comment that says, this is very normal. I'm a CPA and I still get stumped sometimes when I come across an odd series of entries. I usually ask the controller or manager why certain entries are made, which I do recommend you do. While they are explaining the technical steps to complete a task, just ask near the end something like, what is the purpose of this? Or why is it done this way? That's really good advice. I remember a few years ago, when was it? 2019 and 2020, I was working at the Maverick Center in Salt Lake City. I was the bookkeeper, and that was such a cool job. I think it was one of my, it definitely was my favorite in-person job that I've ever done. And it was just great. My staff was great. And my financial controller was the sweetest gentleman. And he would obviously give me my tasks every day. I knew what I had to do for the most part, but he would oftentimes come over and be like, hey, can you do this, this, and this? And anytime I ever had a question or if I was ever confused, he was such a good boss. I would just ask, why? And I could tell that he had daughters because he was just like a fatherly type boss. But if you're confused and you want to know more, ask those questions. And, sometimes you have a boss who would rather just not deal with the questions, but I hope that you have a boss who is going to take your questions and your eagerness to learn as initiative, and they're not going to hold it against you, but they're going to praise you for it. And yeah, 6 months in, that's still so early. You're still going through school. You're still learning things every day. You did mention the OP mentioned considering doing the QuickBooks Pro Advisor course. That is free through QuickBooks Online Accountant's Profile. So if anybody is interested in taking the Pro Advisor course, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's incredible. The knowledge is great. The resources that QuickBooks offers you is great. And if you're already using QuickBooks in your day-to-day job, having that Pro Advisor certification is only going to benefit you. So if you're a bookkeeper, let me know in the comments, how long did it take you to start understanding the whys behind all of the things that you do? And I think that's all of the stories that I'm going to do today. If you have stories that you've seen on Reddit, either in the r/bookkeeping subreddit or the r/accounting subreddit, make sure you go ahead and leave those links in the comments. I will definitely check them out and maybe we'll read them next week.